All right, so Bruce Arena clearly on board with Messi coming to MLS.
He seems really excited.
There's not a single person that's not on board
Exactly.
with Messi coming to MLS. What I think people are concerned about is how do you maximize the effect of Messi coming to MLS? Because you want this league to go from here, because it was here, Beckham came, it went to here. Now you want to make another massive jump because you want to be able to maximize the effect of Messi coming by bringing in the best players and bringing more fans to the stadiums, bringing more fans into MLS. So with that being said, you need to change the rules. You need to give teams more money, and it's not necessarily DPs. You know, if you go from 3 to 5, it'll help, but it's more in the middle. If I'm an owner of a club and I want to spend per player, let's say I want to give each player a $3 million contract, three, and I can do that for 6 to 7 players, and spend 21 million, as opposed to spending one contract 28 million or 30 million buying a player, or what have you. I would rather have that option to beef up the middle of my roster, because I could sign a ton of quality players for 2 million or 3 million per year, than spending 100 million on one player, right?
So you want more TAM? Because TAM is that middle of your roster.
Because that's where you're going to bring in real quality.
And make your team more competitive throughout the league.
Can I make a suggestion?
Get rid of TAM, period, and just have more slots available to spend money.
Or get rid of the cap.
No, I don't think you get rid of the cap.
Throw a luxury tax in there so that the rest of the teams make a little bit of money. Just get rid of the cap. When they instituted the DP, what did teams do? They had relatively bad rosters with 2 or 3 big names that were at the end of their careers. They wanted to inspire more purchases at the middle, like what you're talking about. They added GAM, TAM. The youth allocation money was around for a little bit. Then they had the youth DP. They're trying to inspire these owners to purchase the types of players that they want to see in the league, that they think makes a real shift in the league, right? The middle of your pack, the midfield, the creative players. Why don't you just get rid of all of the bumpers, get rid of all of the guardrails? This is a watershed moment for this league. You want to see this league take that next step? Get rid of the guardrails. Let these owners who want to spend. And you know what? It's a single entity. The teams that don't want to spend, and you all have 1 to 2 names in your heads right now. You probably have about 4 or 5. Those owners who do not want to spend will sit back and collect the money that the extra money they'll make, because it's a single entity. It's a shared pot. Let the big teams get their gate, make the money off sponsors because they want to bring in big players. And you know what? You're never going to get relegated. You don't have to go into USL. You could sit back and lose and lose and lose, and it won't matter.
I think it does matter, because people don't want to see teams that are Real Madrids and then teams that
you want to have
that already.
Have 10 to 15,000.
We have that already.
And the discrepancy can get even greater.
And the TV ratings go up for those big teams. Gate goes up for those big teams. Just like Messi, it becomes a traveling circus. It doesn't matter. All the hands are in the same pot. We're fooling ourselves by thinking that parity needs to be across the board.
You could raise the cap.
Why keep doing it by small increments? These owners want to spend.
In a market, you can't just let go of the cap and expect it to balance itself out.
It's a single entity. It's a single entity.
The Cosmos didn't have a cap.
But the competition.
It wasn't a single entity.
I know.
Can you imagine though if
when it gets out of hand
introduced
and you stop making money, then what?
But how amazing!
What do you mean?
Then clubs are going to be at a point where they've overspent, they're not seeing the returns, and then they go down.
It's a single entity. Though everyone,
you think people don't lose money?
No, of course, but there's meetings, there's owner meetings.
Here's a question I have. Okay, inevitably, Messi's coming to MLS. Inevitably, there are going to be a ton more eyeballs on this league, specifically Inter Miami. People are going to buy subscriptions to the season pass, the Apple TV season pass. How do you keep those fans that are purchasing and watching solely for Messi after
You have to have more quality
and that's
in the league.
exactly
You
it.
have to more quality
That's
in the
the
league,
thing.
and I think
you have to. MLS is going to have to meet this moment.
MLS.
And what's that
has
quality?
a
A great player from the Mexican League that no American's ever heard of.
MLS is a
Maxi Morales
problem.
was incredible, but that's not selling you tickets. I love the
But
guy,
that's
and I love what he
putting pressure.
did.
You've got to put pressure on
You got to
these
get
owners
ass in the
to
seats. You got to get
spend.
eyes on that thing.
Yeah.
If you're the
But-
owner of Miami, you're the owner of Miami. Lionel Messi shows up, and now all of a sudden, two of his friends, Angel Di Maria and Luis Suarez, call, and they want to join the team. Who's going to say no? Who was going to call? Apple said, Apple's like, wait, we don't because of
Inter
TAM?
Miami's
You don't
the
have enough
anomaly.
TAM?
Inter Miami's the anomaly here for building a competitive league. Everyone else, I think, needs to have a playing ground where they can build a competitive league, because the discrepancy in MLS is every team has a couple of good guys that are very, very good, and then there's a significant drop-off afterwards. Those middle-of-the-pack guys, they're those MLS stalwarts that you'd like, that sometimes they bounce from team to team and solidify a team. There's not that many of those. And I think I'm more on board with Chuck that if you can bring more of those guys, reinforce squads and up the quality instead of having a couple of kids out of college or kids without that much experience.
And that's going to get people to sign up for Apple
and it
TV
makes
Plus.
it league more attractive.
No one knew who Joseph Martinez was. No one knew who Miguel Almiron was before they came in, and they absolutely took the league by storm. So much so that the jersey sales were going crazy. The stadium was packed. You have to invest in talented players. They don't have to be big name players. So if you get a number of players who entertain, and one player that comes to mind is Carlosio, because he's a league MVP.
Or even Pozuelo.
Incredible
Look at
player.
Pozuelo.
No one knew about Carlosio.
No one knew
in
about
MLS, but you
Pozuelo
watch
either.
him and you go, oh, I'm coming to the game because they entertain you. So you get enough of those players, you need to be able to spend.
And that's a middle.
I don't understand how this is going
really.
against what I'm saying. There was only a couple of years ago that Miami was actually docked. They were punished for overspending, for finding ways to get better players into their squad. What are we talking about? Why would you punish someone who want to spend more in this league? It doesn't make sense. And yeah, you got your Pozuelos, you've got your Joseph Martinez, you got your Almiron. That's not going to stop. You're not all of a sudden going to have a Premier League club. You're going to have to find talent in other areas to fill in those gaps, because not every owner can afford. There's obviously a number above you don't want to spend over because you're not going to make any money. You're still going to find those players. But now you're going to have a Miguel Almiron and a Joseph Martinez surrounded by even better players. And it's going to be even more of a traveling circus. You're going to sell even more tickets. You're going to sell out these NFL stadiums. What you're saying leans to my point. Get rid of the cap. Let the owners who want to spend, and the ones who don't will either have to catch up or they're going to be pushed out. And that's it. There's no relegation.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree, but I don't think you could do it all at once.
You know what you could say?
It's-
I agree. And that would just make the end of the segment
No, because I don't think
so
you can get rid of the cap all at once.
Why would you argue with me by saying I don't necessarily disagree?
But I don't
say
think
I
you
agree.
can-
Say I agree. Say I agree.
I agree
Thank
in
you,
a couple
Kyle.
of years.
To commercial.
Also,
Volkswagen
the
all-electric
infrastructure.
ID4.
Infrastructure
more
needs to
turf.
change.
Messi can't be playing on turf.
No more turf.
He won't be going to New England, but he can't.
No, he won't. He won't be going to New England.
But
No
you
one
can't play.
can't play on turf.
Can't play on turf.
I agree.
You know,
Yeah,
like
a lot has to
look
happen.
At the top
It is-
five
won't
leagues
You're
go
right,
to
though.
Yankee
It is
Stadium.
a process. It is
I
going
love
to be a
it.
process.
Like I can think of
Yeah.
one.
That's also
one
a conundrum.
stadium in Belgium that
Yeah.
has turf.
Come watch
you know?
Messi at Yankee Stadium.
Oh,